You know, when you sit down for a meal, have you ever really stopped to think about the story of what's on your plate? I mean, really thought about it? It's so much more than just fuel. The food we eat is like a living history book, connecting us directly to our past through recipes, ingredients, and traditions.
So let's just jump right in with a pretty huge idea. What if the most epic story ever told, the story of civilizations, of empires rising and falling, of global trade and incredible revolutions? What if that entire story is actually hiding in plain sight, right there on your plate? That's the journey we're going to go on.
All right, so where does a story this big even begin? Well, not with kings or great battles, but with something much, much smaller. Something you could hold in the palm of your hand, a single seed. And believe me, that one little seed was about to change human destiny forever.
I mean, think about it. For most of human history, we were wanderers, right? Hunter-gatherers, always on the move. But then, around 10,000 years ago, this absolutely radical shift happens. We figure out how to farm cereal grains. And this was so much more than just a new way to get dinner. This was the spark that lit the fire of civilization. Because for the first time ever, we could produce a surplus of food.
And that surplus, that extra grain, became the world's very first economy. Suddenly, not everyone had to spend all day looking for food. With food stored away, some people were freed up to do other things. And that's how you get priests, soldiers, scribes, craftsmen. That's how you get a society. And get this, in ancient Mesopotamia and Egypt, you didn't get paid in coins. You got paid in bread and beer. Grain wasn't just food, it was currency. It was the engine that powered the ancient world.
So civilization is literally born from grain. And for thousands of years, what you ate depended almost completely on where you happened to live. But then, we started building bigger ships and crossing massive oceans. And the global menu was about to get a complete, world-changing overhaul.
To really get what the world was like before this big food swap, check out this quote from Charles C. Mann. He's talking about the potato in the Andes, and he calls it chaotic diversity. It's perfect. A potato in one village was totally different from one just a few miles down the road. It was this incredible, hyper-local world of food that was about to be unleashed on the rest of the planet.
And this was way more than just a recipe swap, it was a geopolitical game changer. You can see here how in 1572, the first real global economy kicks off, with American silver buying Chinese goods. But look at that last point. The humble potato, brought from South America to Europe, fueled a massive population boom. All those extra people, fed by this new supercrop, provided the manpower that allowed a few European nations to project their power all across the globe.
Okay, now let's leap forward from the age of sail to the age of the factory. The 20th century brought a change that was just as radical as the invention of farming itself, the complete and total industrialization of our food.
Remember that chaotic diversity of the Andean potato? Well, compare that to today's agricultural landscape. The U.S. now produces 10 billion bushels of corn a year. It's a staggering amount. And this isn't about feeding people directly. No, this is about creating a literal mountain of cheap calories, supported by government policy, that has to go somewhere. And it does, into animal feed, ethanol, and especially high-fructose corn syrup. We've traded diversity for just sheer quantity.
So, how do you get people to consume all these cheap calories? You engineer them to be irresistible. This brings us to a key concept from food science, the bliss point. Now, this isn't about making something taste good in the way a chef would. It's about finding the precise, scientific concentration of sugar, salt, or fat that maximizes the pleasure response in your brain, creating a craving that's almost impossible to resist. And this isn't just guesswork. It's a cold, hard science. Food companies identify a target, say busy moms. They'll create dozens of product variations, bring in consumer panels to literally graph pleasure responses, and then use mathematical modeling to find that perfect addictive formula. A product like Cherry Vanilla Dr. Pepper wasn't invented by a chef. It was designed by a scientist with a spreadsheet. But food scientists aren't the only ones shaping what's on your plate. Behind the curtain, there are powerful political and economic forces at play, influencing everything from what we're told is healthy to what food gets subsidized and ends up cheap in our grocery stores.
Just take a look at this. This is a snapshot from just 1 year, making the invisible visible. You can see millions upon millions of dollars being spent by the biggest food industry groups to influence government policy. It's a massive investment designed purely to protect their interests and their profits.
And here is a perfect, real-world example of that influence. In 1991, the USDA was about to release its new food guide pyramid, but the meat and dairy industries were furious. Why? Because the pyramid's design made it pretty clear that people should eat less of their products. So they successfully pressured the government to delay and change the design, watering down the nutritional message for millions of Americans.
Farmer Joel Salatin just puts it so bluntly here. The price you pay at the checkout for most industrial food is, basically, a lie. That's because our own government policies heavily subsidize commodity crops like corn and soy, which makes the ingredients for processed food artificially cheap. That price tag doesn't show the hidden costs, the environmental damage, and the long-term impacts on public health.
So all of this brings us to today, and we're at a critical crossroads. We've seen how we got here, from the very first farm to the modern food factory. The question now is, where do we go from here? What does the future of food even look like?
Right now, it seems like there are two very different visions emerging. On one side, you have the industrial model we know so well, focused on quantity, reliant on chemicals, and built for a global system. But on the other side, there's a growing movement towards an ecological approach. This one focuses on the health of the entire system, the soil, the water, biodiversity, working from the belief that you can only get healthy food from a healthy environment. Chef Dan Barber really captures the spirit of this ecological path with his idea of the third plate. The concept is to design a meal where every single ingredient works together to support a healthy farm ecosystem. So it's not just about a piece of sustainable fish, it's also about the cover crops that restore the soil and the heritage grains that were grown alongside it. It's a way of eating that can actually help heal the land.
At the exact same time, technology is racing ahead with some very different, very powerful solutions. You've got things like vertical farms, which are basically agricultural skyscrapers growing food indoors right in our cities. And then there's gene editing, a technology that has the power to make even more fundamental changes to our food.
And the big one there is CRISPR. It's mind-blowing, really. It's a natural immune system that bacteria use, and scientists have figured out how to use it as a revolutionary gene editing tool. Think of it like a find and replace function for DNA. It allows them to make incredibly precise changes, maybe creating crops that are more nutritious or that can survive in a changing climate. We're talking about the power to literally rewrite the code of life itself.
So, we've come full circle. From the first grains that built our cities, to the global trade that remade our diets, to the factories that engineered our cravings, and now to the labs that can rewrite DNA. Our plate has always been a mirror, reflecting our technology, our values, our relationship with the world. The only question left is, what story do we want it to tell next?